Okay, sister. In this episode, we're going to cover how to balance both modern and holistic medicine for best results, the part of healing that is often missed and keeps us stuck, and a powerful tool to implement that will help your body heal. Let's get to it. What's up, sister? Welcome back to the Period Whisperer podcast, the show helping perimenopause and menopause women de-stress your body and decode what it's saying to you so you can own your own health, energy, and weight loss again. If you're new, I'm so happy you're here. I'm Bria. I'm your host, a recovering people pleaser and hustle addict turned functional and holistic hormone specialist. Let's lean in and learn what your body is saying to you. Hey there, sister. Welcome to this episode and interview on the Period Whisperer podcast. I'm really excited to share it with you. I'm wondering, have you ever wondered how to balance both modern and holistic medicine to feel like you again, especially if you're dealing with a chronic illness or autoimmune disease that requires modern medicine? This can feel so confusing for many of us to know where and how holistic medicine fits in, if it can support you. So I wanted to get my friend and herbalist Brooke Perales on the podcast to help walk us through it all. Brooke is on a mission to share her knowledge of natural healing and tapping into the universal magic that resides in all of us. She's an herbalist, mom to 3 kids, an author, an instructor, and a lover of life. Through her company, The Divine Seed, she consults with clients to create one-of-a-kind herbal mixtures for their greatest physical and spiritual beliefs, and offers classes on how to use herbs and other practices to improve health and wellness every day in their own life. It's a great conversation that helps us better understand herbalism and how to combine all of the medical modalities to support our healing in perimenopause and beyond. And we really even talk about the part of healing that's often missed and keeps us stuck. And of course, she gives us some great tips. So let's get to it. I'm really excited to share it with you. I won't make you wait anymore. Well, hey there, Brooke. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the Period Whisperer podcast. I'm so grateful that you're here. You know, I shared in your intro so much of what you represent and how you help women specifically, and a little bit about your story. But let's talk about you first. How did you get into natural holistic healing and even herbalism and working with women?
So I started because I got to a place in my life and in where I was at, where I truly felt like I had done all of the modern medicine. I had done everything that I felt like every doctor had told me. Mm-hmm. Everybody had led me in this direction and told me about every medication I could take. I am a type 1 diabetic. So I do have an autoimmune disorder, mm-hmm. and my body really struggled with that throughout my life. And I really just got to a place where I was taking all kinds of medications. I was doing everything I was told to be doing. And I really just felt like I was at a place where I needed to change something. Yeah. I was at a point where I was carrying a lot of weight. And with that, I carried just weight of everything that I had accumulated throughout my life. And I had come to a place where I was just absolutely miserable, right? Like I just, it was miserable to sit in this space.
When you say you were carrying a lot of weight, do you mean like physical weight and like mental and emotional weight, or
both, right? Like I just felt like I was just in a place where I was just carrying weight of all kinds. Yeah. Right. And I just knew that I had to change something. My body wasn't happy with who I was, and I wasn't happy with who I was. And I was trying to deal with all of these physical problems. But on top of that, I was doing everything everybody told me to do. Every doctor that told me what I needed to do, how I needed to deal with my diabetes, how I needed to deal with my body, I was doing everything. And I still felt like I was at a place where I was miserable. Yeah. I had done everything. So I knew that there was something that deeply needed to change within me and within my body and within myself. And that was a hard place to come to and a hard reality to hit. but I knew it needed to happen. And so when I got to that place, I started researching alternative medicine, holistic medicine in different forms, right? It wasn't just herbs.
Yeah.
And herbs for me was a real healer for my body, but it also included things like sound healing and things like just truly reaching into meditation and into all types of holistic healing and what other options I had for myself and my own body. And so that's really where I tapped into the herbs, because that was what I was drawn to.
Yeah.
But it really included all kinds of new life, and it just opened the door to all kinds of new things.
Yeah. I love that you say that, because in holistic living, like, there are so many different modalities. I think that's what you're talking about, all the different modalities. And I think that it's not a one size fits all, right? Like, we do have to find what is drawn for us. And sometimes it is meditation, and sometimes it's not sitting in meditation. Sometimes it's something else. So I'm excited to explore some of those with you today. But just a follow-up question. Can I ask how old you were when when you hit this turning point? We'll call it or maybe a rock bottom. I'm not sure if you'd call it that, but how old were you at that point? What was going on in your life?
So that was about right when I was out of college, right? So about, I would say 5-6 years ago. It's not that long ago for me. But that's really when I started to hone in on where I needed to change and what I needed to change and where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think it's, for so many women listening to the podcast right now, perimenopause, which is such a significant transition, it really often unearths this need to learn more about ourselves and this desire to change. I almost think of it as like a big highlighter that kind of comes in and is like, this isn't working for you. Youth was forgiving, and now it's time for you to change. So it's amazing to me that you were able to kind of get to that point earlier. And maybe that's because you had lived with an autoimmune disease, that you were already bothered so much that, things kind of tip over or spill over faster. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think for me, it started at that point, right? But I was still opening doors for a long time before I really got to a place where I was comfortable in my own skin and in my body. And I think it takes a long time to get there. I think for some people, you just snap and it's there. And for other people like me, I think we just kind of roll into where we feel comfortable and where we feel like we need to be for a while. And that's okay. It takes everybody a different stage and everybody a different amount of time to get there.
That's a really good point. And I like that, because I think we often are looking for the one door that we open that just changes everything. And yet I find more often than not, we hear these like lightning in a bottle stories in all aspects of life, right? We hear them in weight loss. We hear them in like career success. We hear them in falling in love. But really, those are just the ones that I think are like the noisiest and shiniest. For so many of us, it's a journey, right? It's a journey of door after door after door, like you were saying.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, that's really good. So I know that obviously you work with all types of people, but you do work with women in perimenopause and menopause. What you do? Yeah. And what are you seeing in women these days, in these years? Like, what do you notice from your clients that come to you in those years?
So that's a great question. I think there is a lot in the clients that I work with who come to me and they're like, I would love holistic medicine. I would love to use herbs. I would love to do that. But I already use modern medicine. I already use other ways, and I don't think I can combine both. And this is a huge part of what I teach, is that you can take a modern medicine and a holistic medicine and you can use them both to better your body in a higher form. And this is something that I think our world today, there's still a big split in using both. And I teach that you can use both in a healthy form. And how you do that, the herb is there to help your body heal from a deeper form in the inside out. When we take modern medicine, let's say you have a cold, right? Or you are dealing with menopause. What you're wanting is to really just take that medication and help it heal the symptoms that you're experiencing, right? That's where you feel miserable, is the symptoms.
Yeah, you want relief.
And so when you take that medication, what you're asking it to do is to mask all of the symptoms that you're experiencing so that you can feel better. Mm-hmm. When you take an herb, what you're asking it to do is heal your body from the inside out on a deeper form and in a deeper level. So working together is an incredible form, an incredible way that you can use both the medication, right, to mask those symptoms that you're experiencing while the herb goes deeper. And together, they're able to really help your body feel its highest and best self. And it doesn't have to be herb, right? It can be something else too. But what you're asking is that you're able to use that modern medicine to really heal and mask your body and heal those symptoms that you're experiencing while you're able to use the holistic health to heal your body on a deeper level. And your body is always, I know you teach that your body is always trying to heal itself on a deeper level, right? Our bodies are always asking to be at its highest and best self. Yeah. So all we're doing is kind of tapping into how can we help our body heal its own self. It's just always working to do that. So what can we do to help it be at that higher place?
I love that, because I agree with you. I think one of the beautiful aspects of modern medicine is that it helps us, it bridges that suffering gap. Like when we're suffering and we need that like faster relief of symptoms, there's so much miracle in that, we'll call it. But I think what I hear you saying is, that like the herbs or other holistic healing that I also talk about is more like, let's coach up the function. Let's heal the reason that's there in the first place, so that we're getting almost like a twofer, right? You're double hitting it.
Right.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So what are the most common symptoms then that you're hearing, like of women in perimenopause and menopause that are coming for healing?
Oh, so symptoms are that's such a hard place to tap into because every body is so different, right? And I think we've been trained throughout our life to group people into categories, right? This is what you experience because you're experiencing menopause, or this is what you're experiencing because you're experiencing perimenopause. What is it that you are, these symptoms need to be in this category? And it's not always like that. Every body is so different. Yeah. And I experienced that throughout my life because I, kind of got put into this category. This is the medication that you need because you're experiencing depression or because you're experiencing diabetes. Yeah. What is it that you need for those things? And that's great. That's great to put people into a category sometimes. Yeah. But in all reality, each body is so different. So when you look at somebody who's experiencing menopause here and somebody who's experiencing menopause here, why are their symptoms so different? Or why are they experiencing things so differently? And it really is because every person is so different. And that was a hard thing for me because I was like, oh man, that person over there is experiencing, depression in a totally different form than I am. Yeah. But that medication is working for them. Why is it not working for me? Why am I not able to have healing in that form, in that way, with that medication?
I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think that you're right. When we get lumped in, and so I appreciate you explaining it that way, because I think when we start to categorize ourselves, and I get it, we categorize people for hopes of organization, but then the rest of us all kind of land in like, hey, well, can you just give me the thing that's going to work for me? And what I hear you saying is that obviously it's not a one size fits all, because because what's causing it in the first place is going to be so different. So I love that you shared that. That was amazing. It's almost like a different mindset. If we can kind of come to the table of like, here are my symptoms, but what's the root? Like, let's get to the root, which is going to be unique for me.
Right. And just being open to new ideas and new ways of thinking, right? That somebody who is experiencing something this way, it might not work for you. You might need something different. You might need a different way of helping your body, or a different way of thinking to open your mind up to what else might work.
Yeah. So let's talk about that then. Let's talk about some of these different holistic modalities that women who are listening can start to explore. Because I think that's where we can get a little overwhelmed or where we can get a little pigeonholed, is what you're saying, like getting stuck, being like, well, this is what is working for my neighbor, my sister, my mother, my
Right.
friend, so I should try it. And on that note, maybe you agree with this or not, but I find when we do that and we say like I'm like this is what worked for her so it should work for me and then it doesn't, it can really foster this sense of, I don't know, self-brokenness or like something is wrong
Right.
with me, which is hard.
Right. So I think there are so many different types of ways that we can heal our body. I think that, herbs are an incredible form to help our body heal on a higher level.
Mhm.
There's also things like Reiki. There's also things like um, meditation. There's also things like sound healing and breath work. And I mean, there are just so many. I mean, I could list them for days. There's just
Yeah.
so many um, points. And I use many of these in my own life,
Yeah.
right? I don't choose just one because who would want to choose one when you have 500 options that you choose, right? That are working for you. And there are days when I wake up and I'm like, okay, today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to ground this morning. I'm going to use grounding energy to help my body this morning. And then I'm going to go use an herb and then I'm going to do meditation. And maybe I need all of them today because it's just
Mhm.
going to be a hard day. Or
Yeah.
maybe I just need none of them. Maybe I just need to wake up and just be today.
Mhm.
Maybe it's just too much to just do them all,
Yeah.
right? We don't always have to use anything. Sometimes we can just be who we are, and that's okay. And
Mhm.
sometimes we need to add in one or two, or maybe there's just one. Whatever works for you works. And you just kind of feel that out. And it doesn't have to be like anybody else. You just find what works for yourself.
Mhm.
And that is what I found works best for me is just waking up in the morning and being like, okay, I'm a little bit tired today. I'm going to go ground my body. And then we'll see how I feel throughout the day. And if I need to add something in, great. If I don't, then awesome.
Yeah.
Whatever works for you works.
Yeah. And I think that's obviously a really great point. Is like we have to, I always think like the work is not even doing the thing. It's the trial and error. It's the self exploration. I think that's often the work because we're looking in this kind of microwave mentality that we have in our culture. We're looking for things to work really, really quickly. So I know I get a lot of these questions asked from my clients, and I'm sure anyone listening is going to be wondering this too. Like if we when we're learning these things, so for women who are listening, if they're like, okay, I know I'm not feeling well, I want to try one of these holistic modalities. They pick up one, let's call it herbs. Anyway, let's just start with we're going to try some herbs. What is your recommendation for how long we should be consistent with and try something before we decide it does or doesn't work for us?
So I always tell people herbs take a little bit longer in your body to kind of feel out and really work because they're working deeper and
Mhm.
it's not a quick fix. You're asking them to enter your body and really give it time to work. So I always tell people 30 days, right? I think 21 days is, how long it takes your body to kind of get into a routine. So I always say 30 days. Give it the 30 days to really feel your body start to work in
Yeah.
that form.
Yeah.
I also tell people when you are looking to change and when you are in menopause, right? When you step into different phases of your life, when you're going in that direction, this is a time that your body is really peeling back all of the layers that you have experienced in your life,
Mm.
right? You are now stepping into a new phase, which means you no longer have all of the different types of things that you've been dealing with throughout your life
Yeah.
as a filter, right? You are really stepping into your truest, most authentic point
Yeah.
without anything else that you now have to peel away.
Hmm.
And that means, it's kind of like you're stepping into a place without all of those little extra things that I think you talked about it when you said you have these rose colored glasses your
Yeah.
entire life and now you're stepping into a place where you are truly filtering out everything that you've experienced, and you're truly stepping into a whole place where you are wholly, truly yourself.
Yeah, I think, I there's like the science, of course, behind what's like physiologically and biochemically happening in our body. But the philosophy, I feel like, is from puberty until now, we've been somewhat hormonally hijacked every single month, right? Obviously to keep the world going around, to keep, the circle of life happening, to, want to have children, to procreate, to care for them enough so they survive, things like that. And that's what our hormones, I think, do for us every single month. And now that those are shifting, we really are very aware of life, the reality of life without those hormones. And I think we've been taught to look at it like a curse, but I really think it's just this beautiful gift of like, okay, now it's your turn to go and figure out you. Like, you have this time, and we're 35, we're 40, we're 45, we're 50 at this time. So we ideally have another 40 years to figure it out. So it's the time to demand that, right? It's the time to figure that out. So I love that you share it that way.
Yeah. And I think we need to be super gentle with our body, right? Our body is changing, our body is evolving. It's just be so, and speaking so kindly and gently to our bodies is so important in what we do, right? When you wake up in the morning, instead of being frustrated with every symptom you're experiencing, if you can wake up and find that one thing, and it could just be one for the day, right? That one thing that you are thankful for. And usually it's like, okay, I've slept through the entire night. Woohoo! Whatever it is, but just finding little things throughout the day to be thankful for and speaking kindly to. When we speak to our body kindly throughout our day, our body responds in a kinder way, in a kinder form.
Yeah.
And I've realized throughout my own journey that when I find little things, and it could just be that one little thing that you love about yourself, and speak kindly to it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it starts out with just one thing, but as you continually do it, you see your body respond in a kinder form. So maybe it's just that, hey, I only had 5 symptoms today, but thank you, body, for only allowing me to experience life, or thank you for letting me, go to the store and get through all of my grocery shopping without having that headache. Or whatever it is that you're experiencing. When you thank your body on a regular basis, your body responds in a sweeter, kinder way.
Yeah.
It hears you, it sees you, it knows you. Yeah. So when you speak to it on a regular basis, kindly, it responds in a kinder form, and it can heal in a higher form.
I mean, just like people, right? When you speak kindly to people, what's the saying? You get more bees with honey than you do with bees.
Yes.
It's just a fact in life, but it's easier said than done, isn't it? That idea of waking up in the morning and remembering to find even just the one thing on your body that you can feel good about today, even just that one thing, and focusing in on it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I speak all the time about trauma, right? When you are carrying a lot of symptoms, when you're carrying a lot of trauma, and we do, right? Like, imagine it as a cup. We are carrying this cup every single day, and it fills up. Imagine you're carrying just one cup, and it's, the cup that fills up every day with all of these little things that you experience, right? Mm-hmm. You stub your toe in the morning, ouch, you put in a little water, and that's, you're carrying your cup along. Then you go to work and somebody screams at you or yells at you, or you feel a lot of anxiety or stress with what you're dealing with, and that fills up a little bit more, and your cup is getting heavier, right? Because of what you're carrying.
Good example.
And let's say that you go to the grocery store and you have all of these tasks that you need to complete with your kids and with work and with whatever else you're dealing with on a regular basis. And your cup is filling up, and now you have a full cup for the day. Mm-hmm. If you never release any of the trauma that you're experiencing, if you never help your body release, imagine that's been, for me, 35 years of carrying these giant cups that now are like a bathtub and a pool full of all of the trauma that you've now been carrying, and you've never taken the time to release that trauma. You've never taken the time to release any of that. Can you imagine how much, for 35 years or 45 years or 55 years or 65 years or 100 years, how much trauma you're now carrying? And we know scientifically that carrying that trauma takes a huge toll on your body.
Yeah.
physically, mentally, spiritually. It's a lot of trauma that you're carrying.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time that when you ground your body or when you use herbs or other holistic medicine, what you're doing is you're allowing your body to release some of that trauma and allowing your body to be almost like it's like a new birth, right? You can just be truly your wholest, truest self without all of that trauma
Yeah.
taking a toll on your body every day.
Yeah. That's amazing because, we're almost talking about two things. There's like healing, but then, in order to, we think of healing as like, what can I take to heal? What can I do to heal? But what I hear you saying is like, we cannot heal. You can't put things into an already full cup. So we need to almost
Right?
one of my favorite authors, Mama Gina, I don't know if you've ever heard about her before. She talks about how important, in order to access pleasure, we have to rupture and release all of the negative kind of, to make space for that pleasure. So I think that's what you're saying, is that we need to release and empty out the cup of trauma. And whether that's big trauma or that's this small daily like things that kind of fill up that are really frustrating and exhaust us. Either way, we need to do that every day. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And this is a great time to do it, right? Because now you are already experiencing these symptoms from perimenopause or menopause. And it's really allowing you to peel back all the layers of everything else that you've, piled on throughout the years. So now is your time.
Yeah.
What time and what do you need to deal with right now? What is it that you are ready to experience, and how do you want to experience it? Now is your time. So now that you have this time,
Yeah.
what is it that you really want to be? What is it that you really want to do? What is it? Who are you?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we've had our entire life to take care of other people and to do things for, our job and our business. And now they call it what? The midlife crisis,
Yeah.
where we kind of are like, oh my gosh, who are we now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like now we really have to find who we truly are.
Yeah.
And that comes with healing on a deeper level, but it also comes with really experiencing who we are as a person and our deepest, truest, most authentic self.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would go so far as saying, like, not only is this the time, but it kind of has to be like your body is demanding it right now. I think we can't really avoid it any longer. And if we do avoid it, I think we end up landing in a place of a lot of numbing or creation of disease in ourselves or faster aging or all of these problems. So it really is not as much of a choice at this point. We're kind of here and the body's like now.
Right.
Yeah. And it's and it is hard, and it can feel very overwhelming, especially when I think for women we kind of come from a bit of a culture of toxic positivity, maybe, where it's like we're supposed to be like everything's good, everything's great, I'm fine, the kids are great, all is well. We're not really given the opportunity so to share and be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, or be okay
Right.
with being uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about this release, so what I hear you saying is that in order to heal, especially on the holistic, well, both wise, whether we're looking at modern medicine and holistic, I mean, we definitely need the holistic side to do that deeper rooted healing. And in order to heal, we need to make sure we're emptying up that cup. And you're saying obviously these different modalities. So herbs can help with that. Reiki, we talked about, sound healing, probably just any type of self exploration. So let's try to make this tangible for the listeners, because I think as you mentioned, there's like 500 different things here, and it can be really overwhelming when we're starting to create new habits and a new practice in our life.
Right.
So for the woman listening who feels very full in her life and very overwhelmed by how she's already feeling in her body, what would you suggest, and maybe it's a couple steps, or how would you suggest she begin today, tomorrow, this week with emptying that cup in a simple way?
So my biggest and most helpful start for me was grounding. The science behind grounding is so easy to see, and it's already scientifically proven. So I think for people that are like questioning the holistic and the modern and the trying to figure out what works for them, I always suggest watching the Earthing movie. Clint does a great job when he explains the science behind grounding in the Earthing movie. And I explain it to my clients like, when you have an electrician, right, and they're going to put in the wires, they use a grounding pole, because if you don't, you have so much energy flowing through those wires into homes, and it could start fires. It's too much energy. Mm-hmm. And you have to use grounding when you're using those wires, because that is what keeps the energy flowing at a stable rate. Okay. That is like a physical body. Yeah. When you are constantly using computers and using phones and using, electrical energy that enters your body on a regular basis. And it could be energies from people too, people that you meet, and energies from spaces. When you have all that energy,
partner,
yes,
so many, and also from the cup full of stuff, right? Are we carrying energy around? Okay, so we're all this energy is going around.
When you're carrying all of this energy around all the time and you never release it, your body is just constantly trying to flow with all of this energy, and you're trying to use, energy from healing and energy from yourself to kind of keep your body stable on a regular basis. If you never let any of that go, then your body is just constantly in a place of too much, right? It's just too much. And your body is just trying to figure out where it needs to spend its time healing and where it needs to spend its time really working to feel its best place. Ooh, when I ground, I stand outside without my shoes on and just let my body release everything that is just not serving it for the day or at the end of the day, whatever works for you. And you can sit on the floor, whatever works, as long as you're closest to the ground in whatever space you're in. Sometimes you can just touch a plant or a tree or, whatever works for you and your situation. But letting your body truly release that on a regular basis allows your body to be at its first and most authentic place. Right. And that allows your body to really release what's not working and really spend its time focusing its energy on where you're experiencing those symptoms, or where you're experiencing that trauma, or where you're experiencing anxiety or stress, and allowing your body to really focus in on what is truly causing your body the most pain.
Yeah. I think that's amazing, because the way you explain that makes a lot of sense when so much is going on, and then we're also like, on a very tangible level, like not only all the things we're carrying and all the emotions we're doing, all the things we're putting in our body every single day, all the things we're putting on our body every single day. So like there's so much happening in our bodies trying to handle it all. So you're saying that grounding, which is a way to kind of bring yourself back to calm and allow the body to put its energy where it needs, is something we can do every day. And how you recommend doing it is, and to begin, because again, I have a lot of type A's like myself, we're like, give me specifics. So
right.
I feel like I have routine. So whether it's in the morning or the evening, it can be inside or outside. Is that what you're saying? Because obviously it's winter in some places, but
yes,
just kind of be still. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Just wherever you can find a place to really ground yourself. And that can be physically. The earth is truly a really great place to start, right? So the ground, anywhere where you can be close to nature, that's super grounding. So taking a walk, or just being in a place where you can touch a tree, or, just being around plants or closest to the earth. So if you want to meditate in a place where it is truly closest to the ground, that is where it will be the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Or ground. Okay. I get that. And can we, like, how important is it that you're intentional about it? Right. Because I feel like, I wake up and walk every single day, but sometimes I'm walking my dog, and sometimes I'm listening to something, and sometimes I'm talking to someone. So for you, like this grounding practice, how important is it for us to be really in that moment and being like, this is what I'm doing right now. I am grounding myself.
It is 100% that you need to be intentional with your practice. And it doesn't have to be long, right? It can be 1 minute. It can be while you're walking from your car to your work. it is where you just spend that time and you say, okay, today I'm asking my body to just ground itself, let itself, exit whatever is not working for it. Mm-hmm. And when I'm entering this building, when I'm entering wherever I'm going for my job or wherever I'm going for the day, I'm asking that when I enter that space, that I am fully engaged in what I need to be, and that my body is 100% working in its highest practice.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that's a really, really great tip, is that just even that minute, even that conscious minute, and that practice builds, doesn't it, Brooke? It's like when you start to recognize that that's what you can turn to for comfort, then I think we stop turning to other things for comfort, like our social media screen, or maybe food that's going to bother our symptoms worse, or shopping if we shouldn't be shopping, or any type of negative cyclical behavior. That way, it's like when you start to lean on this active practice. So for my type A's out there, I would say, like, set an alarm every day and then just say, okay, I'm for this minute, for these 3 minutes, for these 5 minutes, I'm going to consciously ground. I think I can almost picture it as like the dust settling, when there's
Yes.
been busy, when you've been doing so many things and like the dust is all spun up around. It's like things need to kind of settle so we can move forward.
Right. And as you said, it kind of becomes practice, right? So when you start doing it, then when you are in line waiting for your kid at school, you start breathing. You're like, okay, I just need a few minutes to release this anxiety. And you take a few couple big, deep breaths. Yeah. And that is what truly allows you to do it throughout your day. So as it becomes practice, you start realizing, okay, I'm feeling a little bit anxious. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths and let my body just recalibrate itself and allow it to come back to a stable, recentered, rebalanced, refocused place. And as you do that, you allow your body to really become its best self, because you're just doing it on a regular basis. And what you're asking it to do is just be balanced and centered and refocused and really re-energized with life that is purest, truest, most authentic to you.
As you're talking about this, I'm thinking, like, we do this naturally for others, right? Like if you have children, I have children, like when you have a baby or a toddler and they just lose their mind,
right,
them to a quiet, dark, calm place, don't we? And we just try to bring them out of the stimulation of everything. So we know to do this for others. We just have really gotten away from doing this for ourselves. And instead of like just bringing ourselves, and I always say this, like we often think we need more, but really we need less. Like it's so often that we just need to do less before we add in so many other things. And that's, I think, this grounding practice that you're sharing is such a beautiful gift of like, just take a minute and do a little less. Just a minute. We all have a minute.
Right. And as we do that, our body, and as we speak kindly to our body, right, it all comes back around, right? When we are starting with the grounding, and then you're like, okay, so now I'm centered, now I'm balanced, now I'm refocused. What is it that my body is asking most of me today? Right. And then as we can do that, we're like, okay, my body needs this today. And you start to understand what your body is asking. What is it asking you to focus your energy on? What is it asking you to focus your time on? What is it asking you to, what is it asking for the day? And that's when you start learning your body is speaking to you on a regular basis. And maybe you didn't really understand it before, but you are now.
I love that. I think because, for me, that's why this podcast is called the Period Whisperer Podcast, is to teach people how to listen to the whispers of their body. And in order to hear what your body is saying, you kind of have to stop and listen, don't you? So,
yes.
That's what you're saying. That's a beautiful way of saying, like, okay, allow yourself to even hear amidst all the noise what's being said, because it is often that when we don't listen, we know we feel tired and we automatically like reach for caffeine, or we automatically like reach for something to give us energy, when really what we need is like, okay, maybe tonight I should go to bed a little earlier, or maybe today I should just take half an hour for myself when I get home and ask my partner to handle the kids. Like, give our body what it truly needs, and not, I think what the world tells us is the quick fix.
Right. Yeah. That's it.
That's amazing. That's it. We're done.
That's it. You got it. You're ready.
I love it, Brooke. That's amazing. This has been absolutely incredible. Before we share how people can learn more from you, because you obviously have a beautiful practice that covers a lot more than what I was even anticipating today. Like I know you make a lot of beautiful herbs for people to help them, but it sounds like you really help people. You meet them where they're at on that level of what they need in that moment. But is there anything else you'd like to share with the women listening today that is on your heart?
So I have come to a place where I just truly feel like when we share our own gifts, when we share our own light, when we share our own truth, and that can be whatever it is that feels best to you, right? Whatever place you are in right now, when you open the door for somebody, when you are a light in your own way, that spreads. And when we are in a hard place in our life and we just have, that one person that shares that light, it changes who we are. It changes our trajectory and where we're going and where we want to be. And so I just ask that as everybody is going throughout their day, if they can just smile at the person next to them in the car, if they can open the door for somebody at work, if you can do those little things, the light that we share and the light that we spread is so grand and so beautiful. And that is where we can spread and share the light within our own lives and our own children and our own place. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, life happens in those little moments, right? And that's what makes us feel good, makes us feel proud of ourselves, makes us feel connected to other people. And there's always negativity to focus on. But when we focus on the positive, like you're saying, with just that one thing every single day in our body, I think that brightens our light and spreads it around.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Brooke. It's been amazing being here with you today. And I really appreciate all that you've shared. How do, anyone who's listening who wants to learn more from you, how do they find you?
So I own the Divine Seed. So if you go to thedivineseed.com, you can find all of my products. I have custom herbal mixtures that I make for clients. I also offer an incredible variety of herbal mixtures that people can use on a regular basis to help their body feel their highest and best self. I offer one-on-one consults and classes. So really the Divine Seed is where they can go to find all of my amazing products and mixtures and classes.
And are your classes to help teach people more about herbalism, like about how to use herbs for themselves?
There are classes like that. I do one-on-ones. I also offer collaborative classes with other people that teach holistic healing in other forms.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I'll put the links in the show notes so that everybody can go and find you and go check Brooke out, follow her, check out her website. Thank you so much for spreading your light with us today, Brooke. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful.
All right, sisters, go out, take a minute right now and do a minute of grounding right before you go back into the day. As you wrap up this podcast episode, we're so grateful that you stayed to the end and be more in your life and not just less on a scale. We'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for joining me on the Period Whisperer podcast. If you liked this episode, take 30 seconds right now to write a review on iTunes and then reach out to me directly on Instagram at Bria_period_whisperer and message me there with a screenshot of your review. As a thank you, I will give you a customized free hormone audit to get you on your way to the best health of your life in midlife.